When people are asked if they know that there used to be dinosaurs on the Earth in the past, they say, "Of course we know and believe. It is a common thing to think about. There are so many dinosaur bones found, and it is even written about it in school textbooks." But when you ask them if they know that before on the Earth, in addition to people of our size, at the same time lived people of large size, 3 to 5 meters, they say, "It cannot be. It's all lies." But are the giants of the past? When people are asked if they know that there used to be dinosaurs on the Earth in the past, they say, "Dinosaurs, huge creatures that once walked our Earth, with small feet, huge teeth, and an incredible skeleton shape." Of course they were. Scientists will tell you and even provide you with parts of the skeleton to prove it. But the giants, just people of high height, appearance similar to humans, and with a structure identical to the human, this is, of course, a fake. That's how a typical archaeologist will answer you. Just think about it. Are we willing to believe it? But we have a hard time believing it. That's how public opinion works. You believe what the majority believes, except they can be wrong too. Today, I want to show you some fascinating photos that I managed to find, and not without your help. Let's take a look at them and see who erased the giants from our history. Have you ever wondered that if before found huge bones, why they were immediately attributed to dinosaurs? It's simple. There were no other giants in our history, much less humans. They don't write that in books because it's directly related to humans and their origins. It's about past civilizations. And those in power, we are not talking about puppets, but about those who are in the shadows behind the scenes, do not need people in the world to know the truth about the past. Otherwise, it will simply be difficult to manipulate them. Therefore, we should not blindly believe everything that we were taught in school and what is written in textbooks about the history of mankind and the origin of man. We are not the first mankind on the Earth. Before us on the Earth, there were many periods of civilizations which replaced one another in the course of history. There were global cataclysms in scales of all planet because of what on the Earth almost everything died out. Technologies and knowledge were lost, and only few managed to survive. They began to live in Stone Age, giving the beginning of new civilization. There were many such periods, and in this we will be convinced today. If there were giant dinosaurs, why couldn't there be people of the same size? Although if you believe this statue, there could have been. There are many stories about the life of giants, from the hero of the Greek myth Odysseus, who met a one-eyed giant on an island, to the fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk by the Brothers Grimm, and Gulliver's Travels, who found himself in the land of giants. True, after the 8th century, all these stories fell into eternity and turned from myths to simple fairy tales. Think about it. The best place to hide something is to just leave it out in the open. That's what they did. Darwin's artificially created theory of human evolution from an ape-like creature began to take over the minds of mankind, despite the fact that this theory is still unproven, because even in 150 years there has never been found a transitional link. Just think about what they teach our children in schools, that we are descended from ape-like animals. There were only monkeys, and from them came you and me, the same face. Not too long ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the Smithsonian Institution to release classified documents dating back to the early 1900s. Not too long ago in our long history. These documents proved that the organization participated in a major historical cover-up of evidence showing that giant human remains in the tens of thousands were found all over America and destroyed at the behest of high-ranking executives to protect the prevailing chronology of human evolution that existed at the time. So much for Darwin's theory. If there is something nasty, just destroy it. And how many true stories about giant men soon fell into the category of fairy tales and myths, and even without looking at the evidence, people refused to believe in the actual existence of giants. However, Some archaeological finds have made people wonder if they are fairy tales. Here's one of the figurines from the Gilsrud Antiquities collection, a man and a dinosaur together. It's about 500 years old. How about the Sierra Nevada? Or the caves in Thailand? Doesn't that remind you of a giant petrified snake? And this is Elephant Mountain in Iceland. There are many myths about the existence of giants told by people on different continents. In Tyrol, for example, legends associated with the local rocks are still told. Huge footprints and prints have been found all over the world, and books taller than a grown man have been preserved. Researchers from all over the world share photos of strangely shaped rocks and compare them to people or animals. There is a theory that life forms many times larger than today's once lived here, but perished in a mysterious catastrophe and fossilized, but we can still recognize their remains in the surrounding landscape. Africa, Shetland Islands, France, Sleeping Beauty in Pakistan. To believe everything you read in a textbook is to see with only one eye. Either academics aren't telling the whole story, or if it doesn't fit their narrative and they don't have an explanation, they just bury it and devalue it as pure myth. Here's another photo. A biologist would say that for giants to roam the Earth, there must be viable DNA that can be extracted from a fossilized object to confirm it. But here's the problem. Rock is not organic matter, so extracting DNA from crystallized rock is impossible. However, high concentrations of biological material were found in some of the samples tested. This is what proves that giants once lived on Earth. Some consider these findings to be simple falsification, but there are documented sources where we can see people of enormous stature along with ordinary people. There are no manuscripts in history that talk about giants, but what was done with inconvenient literature in the 18th century? Right, they just destroyed it. Maybe the same thing happened here, except you can't destroy an entire culture without a trace. The sources that could not be camouflaged, destroyed, or put on the shelf under the top secret label are preserved. These sources are frescoes, bas-reliefs, high reliefs, statues, and there are also old fairy tales, bylinas, legends, and legends. Different nations have their own, but in all of them, there are mentions of giants. Here is a story one of the subscribers, his grandmother told him about a giant named Valet that lived near their village. His grandmother was a Finn, and here it turns out that the information remained even in the people themselves. Ask your grandmothers and maybe your great-grandmothers what they heard about giants. Perhaps the people's memory still survived. After all, the remnants are found and in large quantities. In the 20th century, fragments of human skeletons were discovered in Australia. Later, similar discoveries were made in Africa, China, and India, and also in the United States and Russia. For example, 2 human skeletons were discovered in the U.S. state of Tennessee. It may seem that there is nothing unusual in the findings, but it turned out that the growth of these people in life was about 2.15 meters, whereas the average height at the time was 1.65 meters. What's that fence on the balcony? To make the average person feel inferior. And here, the door hammers are so high not everyone can reach them. And as a conclusion, we ourselves with you see the traces and remains of civilizations inhabited by now extinct races of giants. They are found all over the world. But the scientific world all forces silence this information. Such a video came out. Subscribe to the channel and share the video with friends. The dawn is not far off. All the best.